Yo, what's up, guys? Rift Beast Speed Team. So what does that mean? Dark Beast, Light Beast, Wind Beast, Ice Beast, and Fire Beast all in one video. I did do a video on the Dark Beast specific already before this, but in that team you really had to re-rune and you had to redo your team and actually put your best runes to it to make it the fastest possible. You're not farming it that much. So for the reason that you're not farming it that much, I think it is just nice to have something runed up and you can just keep that runed up. And I will be showcasing that you don't have to rune up that many units and still keep it working, but make it quite a bit faster. First, might you ask, why would you farm this in the first place? Well, the main thing that I always farm 10 every day is that it's over here and it's just going to give you 50 energy. So the 50 energy is just a little bit of cashback energy. It doesn't cost you that much and it's just one of those achievements you can do and then just get your achievements in pretty easy. So I pretty much always tend to do the one that is the one of the elements. Then the second reason is, yes, you still do need some of those gems and kind of things to get in. So they're a little bit annoying to farm, but if you can speed it up a little bit, it's definitely not that bad. Plus, the third reason, and that is actually why I started making this video, I was doing this during the Vienna meetup when we had the free R5. But free R5 doesn't mean just doing R5, it's actually free raid, and all of those include with free raid. So for that reason, you can also do any of the other dungeons if you don't have R5 runes at that time. So for me, I always switch my runes around, and in this case, I was in Vienna, so I couldn't really do too much of the free R5. So I just decided to go for one of those free dungeons and just do it over there. So therefore I didn't have to rune up the R5 and just made things a little bit easier. But let's look into the teams. What makes this faster? Well, it makes it faster if you have less units on the field. You have the groggy state, but the moment the groggy state happens, if you have less units on the field, the groggy state will be shorter because it's the amount of units times an amount of X amount of turns. I'm not entirely sure what it is. So that simply means the less units on the field, the faster the groggy state will be. Plus you only need 3.5 million. Would you say like, yeah, but you can get higher stats or like higher rank and therefore get like higher points and therefore get something that counts towards a higher standard? No, it doesn't work that way. I tested a lot on that stuff. I tested a lot with like just some sheets, other people, and just no, like Swar Farm, and no. In the end, it is very simple. 3.5 mil is the only thing you need. Okay, and this thing should actually die. Oh, I have too many shield runes on this team right now. I messed up the team. Put too many shield runes on the things. So in this case, it is actually a bad showcase. But now you can see, okay, we're gonna right away see the difference before and after me messing up the team. So let's keep in that. So you only need to do 3.5 mil right now. And if you just clear the boss and you're at 2.5 mil, you get 1 mil from just killing the boss. So you instantly get the 3.5 mil as long as you kill it in the first place. So you will always get 3.5 mil as long as you kill. So it was still 34 seconds, which is reasonably fast still. But let's remove that one unit or the one shield set. And for that reason, it will be a little bit faster. So, okay, so I changed up the runes a little bit. Don't have any shield sets in it anymore. They don't really need too much protection. They don't need too much damage. The only one I actually would focus a lot on damage on is the Lucas. Because the Lucas is going to be the core unit in all of your Rift dungeons. Because he just simply has a very good kit for it with that passive in there. And he just gets like the extra damage, the crit rate. He has pretty good skills with also an armor break in there. You only want to put decent runes on this one. You could switch the element every time that you switch like for one of those dungeons. But in most cases, just keep it as is. And then you have one side unit that is mostly that one elemental unit that also does pretty nice damage on that. Were you to have a Lucifer or Hurtite, I would always put Lucifer or Hurtite on this position and you can pretty much run this in all of the dungeons. But this is the dungeon that I run for Dark. In this case, I use a Pang. Do you necessarily need a Pang for this? No, not at all. You just need any light damage dealer out there. I wouldn't necessarily go for a Lindo. That's kind of a bad example. But pretty much anything that does pretty decent damage to Dark is going to be good. And if I would clear faster here by, I think in this case, if the Igar was faster than the other two units, it would have been better. So definitely you can optimize it a little bit. But even if it's not optimized, you can already do faster runs than your just normal 1 minute kind of runs. And that is the main thing you want to go for. So sure, you can optimize it because for me, like the Argon, sometimes I use it over there, sometimes I use it over here. So it kind of switches around like what kind of set he has, and it's definitely better if you don't have that Thorns stuff going in twice. Would definitely make that a little bit faster if that was not the case, because now we're doing 39. Let's actually improve the Argon with the, or not the Argon, the Igar with a little bit, and then we can showcase a proper run, because this was kind of a shitty run in the first. Let's just give it a speed slot 2, and then it's totally fine. There is still some time fluctuation, of course, by does it go for an S2 or an S3 right away. Of course, the S3 is a lot better than the S2. But let's see how this happens in this case. And it's also kind of RNG, like does he take this one or does he take that one? Okay, we go for skill 3, that is totally fine. So in this case, we do tap it, we don't get that extra skill of Thorn of Despair in, and then just the whole run is a little bit faster that way. So we do get a bunch of team-ups. That skill that he goes for the S3 into S2 is not that great, but I think Argon is still, or not Argon, Igar is still one of the better positions for that. You could also add in another light unit in here, like the Igar is not really a must, but I do kind of tend to like him in most cases, because he just adds in a little bit of safety. Okay, we're still lacking a little bit of damage. If I were to put the Lucas on damage on Dark, it would have saved, like, I would say 3-4 seconds. So you could easily get this down to like 30 seconds by just using a team like this. And then, of course, the 2 units on the side that are supposed to die are just full-on triple fight units with no stats at all, so they die on that first hit. Might you ask what are good replacements for the Pang? Well, pretty much anything that deals a decent amount of damage a single target. I would look mostly at the 4 stars. There's not too many 4 stars that would do an insane amount of damage, but you could even go for like a Fami or something like that. A Lin is not that great because there's not too much enemy max HP damage on it that you could hit on it, but in the end a Lin would still probably do. You could go for twins kind of units, you could go for any kind of thing that you would say like, oh, this deals a decent amount of damage. You do want to aim for a light unit because light deals extra damage on dark. And that is just the part that is stated in here, that light units deal extra damage on dark. And that goes for all of the elements that the counter element does more damage. So for that reason, you do want to switch around those units as well. So in this case, I have a Guillaume and I have a Faye. Faye, I'm just using the Faye that I normally put on defense or whatever. It's just something that I work with. It mostly works. And for that reason, I'm not sure if this is going to be the Ikaru once again. That might be the bad Ikaru. I know that's actually the fine Ikaru. It's not with shields. That's why in the front line that would die anyways. So yeah. Is Faye really the best one out here? Not really, but it's just I wanted to go for 2 high damage dealers on Dark. And once again, could be a lot of units. Could be any kind of unit that just deals a lot of single target damage on Dark. Were you to want to use your LD5s over here, absolutely is an option. Wouldn't necessarily say, well, like a weird thing like a 0-2 might be good. Well, it has the S2 into the S3 animation, which is a little bit slow, but yeah, you can actually throw like your Dark LD5s in here as well if you don't use them anywhere else and you want to use them somewhere. Just throw some damage set on him and just have the 2 other units die, and then you're looking at 36 seconds rather than your normal 1-minute run, or maybe like 40-ish seconds or something like that. And is this hard to rune? No, this is definitely not hard to rune. Yes, sure, the Faye might look like quite a bit of damage, but it's Vio. You don't need Vio on this at all. Just get these stats on like Fatal. I think for most people, Fatal, because everyone is in Giants a lot, just get all of these sets on Fatal. That's the thing that I did the most as well. Fatal Blade on all of those units, and sure, you want to do damage on light on that unit that you only use specific over here. But yeah, then all of the other units are just same as normal. So we can move on to the next, the Wind one. Wind one is a little bit more tricky because you kind of need that healing in there to get anywhere. And for that reason, I only put one of those 2 units in. And I also go for both a Douglas and a Leica if the Leica is also ruined. This is always one of those units. Like if someone gets runes stolen from it, it's always the Leica. Why do I like the Douglas and the Leica in here? Well, because they counter. That's the main reason. Could you do this with other units as well? I would definitely say that a Jean, the what is it called? It is the Guillaume from last round, but then Fire. That one. The Lure, but Fire. That one is pretty good for this kind of dungeon in general. It just does a shit ton of damage. A star is actually a very good one. Didn't use a star in here. Maybe I should just put a star instead of one of those pay-to-win kind of units, because not everyone has a Douglas, not everyone has a Leica. But yeah, that's just the kind of units that totally would make it work. A star on Vampire is actually very good here. I could easily replace. Maybe if I put the star on Vampire and then remove the other one and just keep the Lucas in. Let's actually give that a try in next round, because I still have my star ruined for just normal Necro, and I think that one is totally fine if we just put the Ikaru in the front slot. Iger, I still think I keep in the back slot. It is still 36 seconds. That's kind of what you want to aim for, like 36-ish kind of seconds. But let's actually give this a try with a star and then add in another unit on fight as well, because I do think it is very much possible. Of course, once again, the Lucas, if you would switch out those runes to the correct Lucas, or not the runes, but the artifact to the correct Lucas artifact. It's currently on water. That's the one that I was farming during the time of the free R5. So in that case, you do want to put it on it if you are farming it longer, but if you're just farming it for the daily, it doesn't really matter. So we have the star in it, and then also we have to find that other thing. It's recommended to, if you have multiple in your storage box, put it on the last one so it's at least findable, because it's always kind of a struggle to find these kind of units. So once again, you're using pretty much the 3 same units with the Igar and the Ikaru and the Lucas. And then the others are just all like optional, pretty easy to get. So we have that going, and that insta-kills. Astar does so much damage. Astar also has damage on Dark right now because of Necro. So, and I don't even switch that. So it's... You don't even have to switch anything. Might you say like, oh, you're kind of low on damage, 3.1. Man, if you're like legit like 2.2, it's already fine. That's all the damage you have to do. So in this case, it is going to be the question. I think the Ikaru will die. No, we're actually clearing it way faster. Okay, this team is even faster than what I did before, 30 seconds. It's so easy, man. You don't even need those net 5s. You don't even need those 30 seconds. You're not going to get much faster than this. Like, that's probably... Sure, you can super optimize it to get the good turns in at the good moment. You would get faster than that, but that's about it. Water one, however, is a little bit different, because the water one starts with a skill that doesn't actually deal damage, and therefore your units on the side are not going to kill itself, which is pretty bad. So what makes it good then is actually to use a unit that would explode itself. You do have one of them, and I can't really think of another one that also does that. But this one actually kills itself and then permanently stays away, whereas the water one will stay alive and then get revived and kind of stuff. So that one is a little bit more annoying. I do think that a Sonya is insanely good over here, so you do want to add in a Sonya if you have one. And Carbine is really a good unit once again on just the fight sets. And then once again, just on a fatal set just makes it pretty easy. In this case, it would say like, hey, you don't have all units in there. I would still recommend to go with 5 units because you don't really need much more than 5 units. Might you ask how to replace the Sonya? Just put any other damage dealer that is a single target damage dealer on Wind. That's probably the easiest way. You could probably even put in the Igar in there, also have a higher lead, but if you do have a Sonya that you just use in arena offense or even on like arena defense or no, wait, not arena defense, siege defense. Anywhere you use that Sonya, it is already a fine build. You don't need anything else. And I do really like the Carbine because it just gets the extra damage in. But I would say this Carbine really in necessity, no. You can just go for Yen. You could just go for like any of those 4 stars that deal like a decent amount of damage. In this case, he's also decent for frontline because he's not going to die. The Sonya is not gonna die, so this one is always a little bit slower, but still 38 seconds. It's definitely pretty easy, and just do something like that. There's a whole bunch. I would also say Grosveld, the Barbaric King on Wind, is probably also pretty good for this because it does have the attack buff. So if I would to save like, okay, remove the Sonya, I would probably put in the Grosveld, which is this thing, definitely very good. Another unit that's insanely good over here is actually, I just saw him. This one, this is also pretty nice damage dealer. There's just, Argon is a very good damage dealer, so there's a whole bunch of things. Arang you can also use. There's just a bunch of good damage dealers that you could use for this. It's not that hard. Then we move on to the Fire one. Fire one is a little bit more tricky because you do want to get those AoE hits in. I was using like 2 AoE units or even 3 AoE units and then one of those 2 blobs. But in this case, I am going to go for just 1 blob or 2 blob. In this case, I'm going to go for 2 blobs and then I have the cookie. And with that cookie, it is just a little bit easier of getting AoE hits in because the cookie will always go for that skill too. And then every hit he does after that is going to be AoE. So a team up hit is going to be AoE. Any hit is going to be AoE. You could maybe do a little bit more damage. I'm not sure if an Astar is better than maybe a Magic Mike or something like that. But just only use the cookie and then use a water damage dealer to just kill it. Because before this, I was actually using the twins. Like the water twins will absolutely shred this whole dungeon. So that is also an option if you don't want to use the Astar that you could go for. But in this case, it is pretty safe that if the cookie moves, cookie's instantly going to clear that and you have no trouble with it whatsoever. However, I must say I'm kind of clearing the boss pretty slow right now because the cookie is not that great in the single target damage. So it's all about the damage of the Lucas. And now this fight is taking a pretty lengthy route. So I do actually think that in this case, the team that I had with... No, this is taking way too long. The teams that I had with the twins was a lot better. So let me switch to that one. In that case, I was only using one of those 2 side units to kill itself and then or just die to the boss. But this one is actually, you don't want to get a run like this. This is more looking like a normal run of like 1 minute-ish. Terrible run. No, 1 minute 7. Absolutely what we do not want. So you have to keep in mind, you want to kill those things fast. So let's remove these two and let's add in some proper damage on fire. And proper damage on fire is, of course, these two. This is also one of those that always loses a rune when I get something rune, because I'm literally using all of my rage runes, I guess. I don't even care what stats there are. This thing is apparently Vio. It's even worse for it. I would not recommend this on Vio, but just give it some fatal sets. That's the best thing you can do. This thing you might ask, also just a fatal set once again. I use this thing also for the subjugation waves, and subjugation is insanely good. But I do think that this is already enough, because if the cookie takes 1 turn, it will always clear the waves. Plus, these two are insanely fast at clearing the boss, so in that case, it just looks a lot better. If you were to put anything on Vio, I would actually rather do it on Sabrina than on that thing. Also, turn order is completely messed up. The turn order is absolutely terrible. You don't want to start with a Triana skill or not Triana. Talia. So many units with a T, man. Triana, Tiana, Talia, Talisha, all of those kind of T's. A lot of T's we don't need. In this case, we do need that Talia. But yeah, Talia, this is probably going to be like a 40-second-ish run. You can probably speed this up a lot if you actually put proper runes towards the twins, because I don't really have proper runes towards the twins. You, of course, clear that wave. And then we just go for a slow-ass kind of kill on that thing. And yep, almost managed to kill it. You could also put a magic mic in here, which is the lapis, of course. I always call them magic mics, but yeah, magic mic is a little bit slower or a little bit less consistent. I think it is faster, but less consistent. The moment it does an S2, it will not clear the whole wave, so that makes things a little bit slower. So for this one, I really don't have a super optimized version. I think you can probably get away with doing it with less units, but in that case, I would probably say maybe even remove the Ikarin and just go straight up damage. Would that be a thing? Let's actually put you over there, and we'll give it one more try. Well, I would also say actually optimizing the runes for the twins to do damage on fire, because these days, you don't use those twins for anything else anywhere. That would definitely speed up quite a bit as well. So I would probably recommend on doing that rather than trying to fix around like a worse team, because this one might fail and you don't want to get fails, right? You do want to still get the Ikaru team up to just get your skills in faster and stuff like that. So I would recommend to use that, and then yeah, just get about like 40 seconds if you optimize these units. So that's all of the Rift dungeons. I do highly recommend to just optimize it a little bit, because going from 1 minute to like 40 seconds, even though if you don't fight it that often, it still definitely helps. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe, and see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab, which has the dungeon guide archive and the video guide archive, which contains all of the guides that you need. Hope to see you there.